In these next few examples, we are going to look at how to convert improper fractions to mixed numbers and then mixed numbers to an improper fraction. And this is helpful when we get into working with mixed numbers, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing mixed numbers. For my class, when we write our answers, we want those to be back into mixed number form if possible. And so we're going to look at how to convert back and forth between the two different forms. And we're going to start out with improper fractions and how to change those to a mixed number, because that's going to be our final step when we're working with these mixed number problems. Improper fractions mean that the numerator is larger than the denominator, and those represent values that are greater than 1. A lot of times when we think about fractions, we think about parts of a whole, like 9/10. For example, if I had the fraction 9/10, I would have almost the whole piece. I would have 9 out of 10 parts, but I wouldn't have the whole entire piece. The whole entire piece would be 10/10 because that's equals to 1. If I had something, I broke it into 10 pieces and I took all 10 of those pieces, I would have the whole piece, right? If I took 9 of those pieces, I would have almost the whole piece, right? But a little piece would be left. So that's what we think about a lot when we have fractions. But these improper fractions would be something like 12/10, where the top is larger than the bottom. So I would have a whole piece because a whole piece would be 10 of those, right? And then I would have 2 extra pieces. So that's what we're talking about when we're looking at these improper fractions, mixed number problems. We're going to have numbers that are larger than 1. And the way that we change an improper fraction to a mixed number is by long division. And again, this may be something that you haven't done in a while, long division. So a lot of times when we're working through this in class, it may take a little bit, and that's okay, because we don't, now that we have calculators in most of our classes, we don't do a lot of division by hand probably. But this is our long division. So the top number goes underneath, right, and the bottom number goes on the outside. And we're going to look at how many times will 12 go into 52, I'm sorry. How many times will 12 go into 52? So again, this is our multiplication facts coming back. This whole fraction chapter involves refreshing our memory on this multiplication. And we can use our calculator to help us if we need to. If you're not sure at all, it is kind of a guess and check. So think about 12 times 1, 12 times 2, 12 times 4, right? And so you would just kind of guess 12 times 3, 12 times 4. 12 times 4 is 48. So that's going to be the closest number without going over. So 12 will go into 52 4 times, and 12 times 4 is 48. So the number on top is how many times it goes evenly into that number, and then you do the multiplication. You would say 12 times 4, and then you would put that number underneath. And then you're going to subtract 52 minus 48. You know, when we're subtracting, or you could put this in your calculator again, and just subtract those values. But we get 4. Now, there's no other numbers to bring down, so I know I'm finished with my long division. I need to take these values and write this as a mixed number. Because it goes evenly 4 times, it goes 4 whole times. 4 is my whole number. My remainder is my numerator. And then 12 is my denominator when I'm writing my fraction. So this is the whole number, so it goes in the whole number spot. And then we just kind of go around. 4 goes in the next spot, which is the numerator, and then keep going around the circle. 12 is the last spot, is the denominator. Now, I still need to make sure that this is in simplest form. So anytime we're dealing with fractions, we're always going to come back to putting something in simplest form. I can divide the top and bottom by 4. I could reduce it by 2, right, or 4. The whole number stays the same. I'm not reducing anything by the whole number, just the fraction. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And we get 4 1/3. I could say I had 4 1/3 of something. I could say I had 52/12. And I would have the same amount, right? It just depends on what you're doing, which one would make more sense. Usually, if you're working any type of math problem, it's easier if we're having just fractions rather than a mixed number. So most of the time, if we're doing any kind of computation, we would want that to be in fraction form. But if you're talking about real life objects, sometimes we can visualize it better if it's in mixed number form. If you were going to have 4 1/3 cups of something, or 4 1/3 if you're measuring something, that might make a little more sense to see it in mixed number form. But let's look at number 2. We have 265 over 8. I want to change that to a mixed number. And again, I'm going to do long division. I want to know how many times will 8 go into 265. Now, I'm going to work this one 2 ways. We're going to kind of look at the traditional long division method. And that's where I look at these. 8 won't go into 2, but it will go into 26. 8 will go into 26 3 times. And then I do my multiplication. 8 times 3 is 24, and I write that underneath the 26 because that's what it's going into. So once you multiply, you're going to subtract. 26 minus 24 is 2. Now, something that we didn't have in our other example is that I have an extra number here. So I want to bring that 5 down and make this 25. Once I get to 25, I'm going to start the whole thing all over again. I'm going to look at how many times will 8 go into 25. Well, it will go 3 times. And again, if you're not sure, that's kind of where we go through your multiplication tables. Use your calculator to help you. And then multiply. 8 times 3 is 24. And subtract. 25 minus 24 is 1. I don't have any numbers to bring down, so I know I'm finished with the long division process. And now I need to write this as a mixed number. It goes 33 whole times, so that's my whole number. 33 is my whole number. The next spot is the numerator, which is 1. That's my next number. And then 8 is my denominator. And this is already in simplest form, 33 1/8. Now, we can use our calculator to help us. Again, this is kind of working everything out by hand and using all the steps for long division. In our class, sometimes we get into some really big numbers, and so it's helpful to sometimes take a shortcut method using our calculator to help us, and if anything, just kind of to check and make sure that we did our long division correctly. This one didn't take very long doing the steps, but you may run into some larger numbers. So sometimes it's helpful just to have a way to check your answers. All right, so instead of looking at how many times will 8 go into 26, I'm going to look at it as the whole entire number. I'm going to look at it as 265. How many times will 8 go into 265? That again is something I would guess and check, right? I'd use my calculator and probably find some larger numbers, 8 times 20, 8 times 25, and see, and then I would probably get to 33 eventually. So that's one way. It's just, guess and check. 8 times 25, is 200, so maybe try something a little bit higher than that. 8 times 30, 240, so getting closer. All right, 8 times 33, maybe 32, 33, and then 33 gets me really close. So I could do it that way, just kind of guess and check and looking at it as a whole entire number rather than doing the steps. But it may take a little more time because it takes a while to find that larger number. And then I come out with 33 1/8, just like I would if I had gone through the steps. So that is going from improper fraction to mixed number. And again, when we get into working with these improper or mixed number problems, this is going to be the last step that we'll do. But let's look at what if we started with a mixed number. So mixed numbers are whole number and fractions. For number 3, I have 6 4/7. That means I have 6 whole pieces and then 4/7 of another piece. I don't quite have 7 pieces, right? I have 6 whole pieces and then a little bit more, some of that whole piece. So 6 4/7. I want to change that to an improper fraction because those make it much easier to work with when they're in fraction form. And the way that we do that is we multiply the denominator by the whole number. So I'm going to multiply. 6 times 7 is 42. And then I'm going to add the numerator. 6 times 7 is 42. Plus 4 is 46, and that's the numerator of my improper fraction. So we multiply, then add. Then the bottom number just stays the same. So it's just a 7. So 46/7 would be the improper fraction. So multiply and add. That is something you can do when you're checking these problems here. Or maybe you have this and you've forgotten which order to put them in, is that your denominators should be the same, right? Before you simplify. Now, once you simplify, they're going to be different. But before you simplify, that can help you make sure that you're putting your everything in the right order, right? Is that my denominators are the same, that they match. And you could even multiply, add this, see if I get the same result. That can also help you see if I'm putting these in the right order or not. But let's look at this last one. We're going to multiply 16 times 2. So we multiply, and then we're going to add 9. And we're going to get 41. We have 16 times 2 plus 9, and then the bottom number is going to be over 16. So that converts a mixed number to an improper fraction. And when we're working with improper fractions, this is going to be our first step. So what we've done is looked at the first and last step of our next video, which is multiplying and dividing mixed numbers.